Have you always been like a Mac user?
I got so excited, I'm not going to lie, when I found the Windows setting that I almost took the shot that I already have poured.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick before we get into it, even though we're live right now, if anybody wants to watch us, I thought for at least the first episode, let's talk about really quick about Mark's history of the show. I want Mark to school us on trichinosis, and then we'll get into Sawyer. Everybody watch the episode?
Yeah.
All right, Eric, do you have notes?
I do have notes.
Nice. Just making sure, because in case I missed something. I'm going to open these because I know Eric hates the sound on air. All right.
Wow.
Sweet. What? No, dude, I'm trying to make sure that the podcast is the best of all possible worlds for you, bro.
There we go.
No, dude, you need to have a quick and easy recovery, and I don't want to make that any worse. All right, so like any other podcast, do you guys have a shot ready?
Yeah, of course.
No, not this time. But
No?
yeah, I mean, living with a lady die now, so things are a little different. But I do have other people.
Fair enough. All right, here we go, boys.
Cheers.
To Bus's last night in the States. Woo! All right, so before we get into that mystery cast in a second here, Rico, what did you shoot?
Jameson. Leftover.
Nice, dude. All right,
too?
so I have, in honor of game night, I have a cherry-flavored bourbon.
Cherry-flavored Hayes Parker. I was more of a
so you guys
fan myself.
Right, you'd be happy to know that it tastes like cough syrup in the best way.
Yeah. It's
what's up, everybody? This
dangerous bourbon for like $12.
Oh, easily, and I did spend the extra. Everybody, this is Vince from www.dropthedice.com, and we are back with another episode of the Dice Station, which means that with me today is my trusty co-host and the only guy I'd ever want to be on the desert island with, Mr. Rico Wasman. Kind of on the mend, but doing fine and still here. What's up, man?
Yeah, no shit. It's been a wild week. My
yeah, man.
Cut open. I figured out how to change Windows settings for my microphone. It's just been a journey.
Dude, yeah, it sounds like you've been through a lot. And you guys have probably noticed, if you've ever heard the podcast before, that sexy baritone out there is none other than the voice of the podcast, the biggest man I know, and the one who probably we would need on a desert island, the Bus. What's going on, man?
Not much. It's going on with everyone else.
No offense to you,
dude,
bus, but I would rather have a boat than a bus. On
wow.
You know.
So Bus has been inspired by the podcast and wanted to join us for a little bit here, which is super exciting. Hopefully the other guys will try soon enough. I don't know if you guys saw it. Z-Man actually really wanted to come too, and then I was like, are you actually going to watch the show? And he's like, I guess not. So I'd probably just sit there. But I'm sure he'll enjoy listening to it. So we're not going to go through our history because you can find that out on the very first episode of the Dice Station. But Bus, tell us really quickly, what's your history with the show Lost?
Right. So my history was on Wednesday nights when I was in high school, my parents would always go to choir practice. And this was one of the few times that I was allowed, because they didn't know about it, for me to watch TV that wasn't the news or PBS, essentially. And Lost happened to be on during that time. So I would sneak watch episodes of Lost when I could. And kind of got wrapped up in that. But then when I went off to college, I kind of lost track. And so the last season-ish, and basically it's all kind of patchwork stuff from my memory. And then all I know is I hate the last episode. I really listen to your guys, the podcast, and I just really know I need to rewatch this so I can get all my ducks in a row and figure out what I actually like and what I don't like.
PBS or die.
Nice. I like you said. I mean, you're way ahead of us at this point. And you mentioned starting to see things that are starting to bug you, even though you said you loved rewatching the first season.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is fascinating. I'm excited to see. Because like I said, I know for a fact there's certain things that bug me about the show, but I love most of it as a whole. So I'm excited to get to things that we can start to nitpick at. Besides that, you listened to one episode where me and Rico were talking about polar bears and wondering why they didn't just take all that meat back, and you actually have an explanation.
Well, because you not only did you bring it up once, you brought it up maybe 2 or 3 times. So that's what really kind of bugged me. And it was just because the episode where they actually killed the polar bear, it was a hard trek. They went through a whole montage of them like having to struggle up these cliffs and someone almost slipping and then pulling. Like it was teamwork to get up there. And they're not just going to pack out 900 pounds of bear meat back to the beach in order to then actually.
The thing is, Bus, I'm annoyed that they wouldn't even talk about it because in that same episode, they're like, "We're dying of hunger." Like they couldn't be like, "Oh, it was really hard to get that bear," you know?
Yeah, and that's definitely fair, but it was still just like, I mean, how much can Locke actually be like? Everyone knows that he has all this like weird hunting experience for some reason and thousands of knives, but how many times are they actually going to call to him and be like, "Hey, Locke, what should we do here?"
Yeah, we're awfully hungry, Locke.
But you said even if they were to get all that meat back, what would happen?
So, I mean, bear meat is notoriously hard to cook. You need to really cook it. Otherwise, you have a high chance of getting trichinosis, which is essentially worms. Worms in your gut.
So would you recommend like a really big bonfire or like cooking it slow close to the coals?
That I don't know. But let's just go with, as long as it's thoroughly cooked, like, well, you don't want any of that medium rare crap that you get.
So we're going for nice Texas style rotisserie over the coals, slow and low for like 12 hours. Make sure those smoke layers get through the bear really well.
Yeah, you definitely want it dripping. You want it nice and crispy.
I would like you guys on a deserted island with me.
And just like start like complaining about the fact that we have like North Carolina barbecue sauce instead of a more vinegar based one.
Is that a St. Louis rub? Get that shit out of here.
Nice. I like it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about The Confidence Man, which is Sawyer's very first flashback episode.
What are we like a fourth of the way through season 1?
Because this is episode 5, I think.
6, I think.
The episode starts off with Sawyer reading Watership Down, which kind of comes up a couple times throughout the episode, and this is another kind of, and I don't know how much the producers thought about this. I feel like this was kind of them being a little bit clever, or like thinking that they were clever, right? Watership Down, essentially about the 2 warring factions of rabbits, right? And ending in freaking tragedy and everyone dying, essentially. You guys have read it, right? Seen the movie?
Mm-mm.
No?
Mm-mm.
No one? Okay. Nope. Watership Down, about battling bunnies, essentially. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he was reading that there. And again, I don't think that was like supposed to be meaningful so much as it was like, hey, this is kind of a cute little thing. Let's put it in there. Then we immediately flash back to Sawyer having sexy time with a young lady. And his flashbacks in this episode are really weird because they're all real short in comparison. In contrast to some of the other characters, we'll get a scene on the island, a quick bit in his flashback, and then we'll go back to the island. Whereas traditionally, you'd almost have like a whole break of the flashback, and then we'd go back to the island, and then back. He's kind of interspersed in a much different way, which I thought was interesting. And I'm not even sure why they would do that, other than maybe there's some.
It's kind of a simple premise that they set up, and I thought the twist was really satisfying. I thought it was like one of the most satisfying or surprising twists of a flashback that we've had thus far. But it's pretty simple, you know, if you like lay it out. Oh, he's setting up.
And that's why I think they edited it that way, because
right.
You get you don't have a lot there to deal with, so you need to intersperse it with this drama that's happening on the island with Shannon, and you know her lack of an inhaler, and everyone thinks that Sawyer has it.
Well, it was also the reason I think they also did it is because it was really setting up for the next episode as well with Saeed.
Okay.
And they do cut a lot to him, and if you don't cut enough to what's going on with the other characters, it doesn't really set up the turmoil that Saeed is having, which sets up the next episode.
That is a really good point. Saeed has a lot to do. Podcast kind of happening.
We just lost you there for a second.
Yeah.
And he's still gone. And he's still gone. Hey, see, it's not me all the time.
It's not always you.
It's
I definitely saw a shadow behind Benito, so he's definitely got something going on back there. Oh, he moves.
Someone got something.
You're dying, Benito.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm right here. I can see all you guys perfectly.
There we go.
You got shit internet, dude.
You what?
I said you have shit internet.
No, you're the one with the shit internet.
Hey, we both lost you.
All right.
The bus is here to confirm it's not always me.
Okay, so we're good though?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a really good point. Saeed kind of figures pretty prominently in this episode. He kind of reiterates the necessity to figure out what this broadcast is and what he was doing with Kate and the transceivers in the previous episodes. Early on, Sawyer finds Boone kind of searching through his stash, and then quickly Boone kind of struggles into camp, like bloodied and beaten, saying that Sawyer hit him. And this happens off screen. And how much of this do you think Sawyer actually beat up Boone in this instance? I just thought that Boone's injuries looked like a lot.
Because it was like a head injury.
Yeah,
so
he's got all these like marks here.
Yeah, I'm really thinking that Sawyer probably just tossed him and he hit a tree, and that's probably it.
Okay.
You know, oh, he kicked my ass. It's like, okay, calm down.
I can go with you there. In this episode, we find out that Shannon has asthma, and Sawyer supposedly has the inhalers. We get a really cool scene with Jack kind of confronting Sawyer about it and questioning why he wouldn't even bother to help. And this is where we get our second flashback where, and I remember watching this the first time, and I caught it more the second time, when he drops the suitcase where he's trying to leave. And now, like, after I know what's supposed to happen, the drop seems more purposeful. And I think it's really, really good acting by Josh Holloway's part, where it's subtle. It's really subtle. But if you're looking for it, it's there. If you're not, it just looks like he drops the suitcase.
So what does he do?
Yay, man. Well, he kind of he does that thing, and he makes sure that it falls where it opens up directly onto the bed, and then the money kind of falls out. He has this like smirk, and he's like, "Y'all weren't supposed to see that."
Yeah.
Well, I think it was definitely nice because it was coming from like a top.
Right.
It was off of like the dresser. Kind of pulls it down. I was like, okay, that was really well done. I do agree.
Oh yeah, no, like he at this point we're to assume that he's done this grift a handful of times, right?
Right.
Like he's been.
There was an interesting point that you just made about Sawyer potentially beating up Boone, and I feel like in the series up until this point, he has been more or less talk, or you can't figure out like if there's anything to back up, you know, his tough guy persona and, you know, his kind of like badassery that he swaggers around the island with.
Okay.
So about halfway through the flashback, when you think that he got the couple killed, right? Like before the big twist at the end of the flashback happened.
Right. Yeah. Which
I
was
had
the
a
next
big
point.
aha moment when I was like, oh shit, he's not all talk. Like he has directly been responsible for people being murdered, you know, and like that validates everything that has happened. But again, the rug gets pulled out from under you when you find out what happens with that flashback at the end of the episode. And I thought that they kind of let that hang for just long enough that I really enjoyed that.
So I think that's a great point, because I knew what the letter was, and I knew who Sawyer actually is, and I know who Sawyer actually is in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Do any of you?
Mm-mm.
Wait,
Boss, you don't
show?
Do you know? You don't know who Sawyer is yet?
I mean, aside from what's going on from this episode, no.
Like, okay, so Sawyer, the guy that we know, his real name is James.
James, yeah.
But you guys don't know who Sawyer is yet. The actual Sawyer that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's kind of. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember that happened.
But you kind of remember?
Well, not really. I just know later in the season they set them things up, but
yeah. Okay, cool.
Cool.
So I think I mean again, second favorite show of all time. So I absolutely remember who Sawyer was. But it's cool seeing this, and you're right. Like they do it so well, where you think, oh my god, like this guy's like not a good dude. And then at the end, when you realize that he was the kid, and when that girl's kid comes out, and he has enough of a heart that like he tries to call off the con, you know, that's such a good scene, and again, like that's every one of these characters is so multidimensional and so gray at this point, you know, and almost all of them seem to be trying to make their way back to the white, right? Like. In terms of good and evil, like they seem to be trying to make amends, kind of, with Sawyer kind of fighting against himself. But here we see that he actually has a good heart, you know, in the end.
Yeah.
Well, so do you actually think that? Because the way I kind of see it is not so much that he has a heart, but he was re-experiencing his trauma.
Okay.
From as a kid, so he wasn't really trying to do the good thing. He just couldn't do it because he was internalizing kind of what was happening, what would happen to the kid to himself.
Right, and but you know, is that not like a sign of empathy, like a sign that this dude isn't pure evil?
No, because he was just freaking out. Like he wasn't actually doing a good thing. He distanced himself from it. He couldn't continue. He couldn't keep up the persona of a con man because he lost it. He lost his. You know, he was going to be made.
I'm sorry. He what?
He couldn't keep up. He was going to be made.
No,
he couldn't keep up the persona.
He did what? He did what to it?
I think the phrase was he lost it.
Yeah, he lost it. Nice. Very good. Bus, this is why we need you on this podcast. Like you're so cynical and realistic, and like I'm here like looking for the good in all of humanity, and you're like, no, fuck that. He was just reliving bad memories.
I mean, that's just another way to view it. And
no, but that's awesome. That's exactly what the whole podcast is about, right? Like we're re-looking at this episode and in these episodes as we go through, and when me and Rico have differences, I think probably the podcast sings the most. But
right.
that's such an interesting way to see it. Of like, I don't know, Rico, what did you think?
I think I tend to agree with Bus more.
Really, you think that this was just him seeing this kid, him reliving this experiences, and so he kind of pulls away. Not, I don't want to fuck this kid over the same way I was.
I don't think he's good at dealing with his past experiences or even his current ones. Like again, he hides behind his bravado, and you know that there's more there.
Just wait till he gets in the bear cage.
What?
I said, just wait till he gets in the bear cages.
Oh man!
But I mean, that's not to say that they're not trying to set up some type of way for him to grow. But I think they set a baseline for him that he's still immature and he doesn't know how to deal with these emotions and trauma, and he still carries around a letter that he wrote as a kid.
That's because they wanted the double twist to happen, and it did. But this flashback only serves to give you a first pass at why he's an asshole.
Right.
So you think, like, is he an asshole? And then this explains that he is, but maybe at his core he's not really an asshole, and there's some trauma there. But there's certainly more layers that need to like be unpacked here.
So let's do a couple more things with Sawyer's story before we kind of get to a few of the subplots. One, at the end, Sawyer, after he's being tortured, which I want to get to in kind of a different conversation, says all he wants is a kiss from Kate, and then he ends up telling everybody that he never had the medicine. I struggle with this one a little bit, and I have my own thoughts about it. But why does he continually let them think that he has the medicine, other than he feels like he deserves this punishment?
Oh, that's exactly the note that I have written down too. He wants to be punished. He wants to be. It fits in. Actually, no, it's maybe I don't know, because with the original narrative of the flashback, where you think that he was the cause of the the couple.
Right. It fits in with that. If he's Sawyer in the letter, but he's not. But he does say at the end, like, I became what I hated. Because Kate figures it out quickly.
Okay, so then he became what he hated, and then thus the cycle of self-punishment started, and that's where he's at today.
A couple more things. After Sawyer escapes, Saeed kind of attacks him with a knife, hits an artery, and Sawyer still is just yelling at Jack, like, just let me do it, just let me do it, just let me die, this is your chance. And then he even tells Jack, hey, if it was you here stabbed, I would let you die. Again, I struggle with him thinking he deserves death.
I think Sawyer only said that because he only has a cursory knowledge of medicine at best.
Okay. Fair. He doesn't have Bus there telling him
that's right.
for not roasting the bear at a nice low 125 for 13 hours with some mesquite.
Though I still find it highly implausible that Jack would be able to sew back together, severed artery with.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but it's fine.
I'm like, I need suction over here,
dude. It's a fucking show.
He apparently just
would you
shoves
feel
the
better
artery back into his arm, regardless if it's actually been sewed or not. It's fine.
It just wait till Jack does that thing in every show where like someone's like bleeding internally, so you do a tracheotomy with a pen.
He's going septic. Stab his throat.
Right, exactly. Okay, so we'll get back to Sawyer in a little bit for some final thoughts, but I want to talk about a couple of the subplots. Claire and Charlie have this whole bit about peanut butter. What did you guys think of that?
Oh, so boring.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was cute. Whatever.
I thought it was cute, dude. We get Charlie showing off that like that's so him. Like he's that whimsical guy. He kind of lives in this fantasy world. I don't know, man. I like that. I like him trying his best for this girl that he's in love with, who's got a baby.
And it just kind of sets up again more of their relationship for whatever might happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch their imaginary food play.
What, do you not like Hook? The movie Hook? Do you not like that whole scene where they played with imaginary food?
Nice.
I do, but it's a little less sexual.
So we do find out that Saeed was a communications officer, and he says, part of my position involved getting the enemy to communicate, which I was like, fuck yeah, dude. That guy nailed that line. I tapped my head and it was like, oh, you mean torture. We get Charlie pressing Hurley for food, which I only bring up because I remember at the time when I was watching this the first time that was one of the mysteries that was brought up on message boards. In watching it again, I don't know why, because I could care less.
About why Hurley is still fat?
Yes.
No,
it was one of
I would like to get to the bottom of this.
It was right there with like the numbers and the freaking wires that I think we find out next episode, and like all the smoke monster. Like it was, oh, why is really fat? Like, come on,
That's
dude.
really funny.
It's like Hugo Reyes B, bro.
Yeah.
Michael and Son go get eucalyptus, and they end up making that weird paste to help Shannon. I don't know why Jack didn't think of the eucalyptus before.
Oh, I mean, that part makes sense, right? You have someone who's like, if you're to suspend some disbelief here, but he's trained in Western medicine, and you have somebody, it's a little stereotypical that the Asian knows the Eastern medicine to the extent that she does. But she does, and so at least Jack not knowing it makes sense to me.
And he knew it. Like when I do like that when she brought it, he was like, "Oh,
right,
eucalyptize." But how plausible is the eucalyptus paste helping to open up her lungs?
I mean, it's definitely plausible.
Okay,
more plausible than him, sewing back a severed artery.
So it makes more sense that the eucalyptus paste would help her asthma than him sewing up his artery with a couple twigs and a monkey's foot.
Yeah, I mean, with an inhaler, it's very similar stuff, just a little more hyperactive. But you give enough time, make sure she inhales enough, and it's going to help dilate her lung, or all like the alveoli in her lungs and her bronchi, and it's going to help out. But the fact that Jack was like, yeah, okay. It's like, fuck off, Jack. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know.
We gotta anytime there's like a medical oddity or something on the show, we need to make sure Bus is on the podcast so we can just double check that the science tracks.
That's gonna be most episodes, I think.
Just wait. Okay, so there's another episode where the episode ends with the music montage. The song is called "I Shall Not Walk Alone," and you get a lot of couples kind of in this one. You get Charlie and Claire moving to the caves. You get Boone and Shannon sharing water together. Some more Sun and Jin stuff. But then you get Sawyer reading his letter, about to burn it, but then he doesn't. And you get Saeed walking away after he has that conversation with Kate. And I like that. I like that Sawyer and Saeed are the two guys that are kind of alone. I think that talks a lot about character, and I think that this episode in particular did a lot of character stuff. I think everybody is doing really good work here. We see almost new levels and new intricacies to these people in this episode. And I wrote, there's not a whole lot of mystery in this episode. People don't really bring.
No, I disagree. There is
any of the weird shit that's going on.
Big mystery in this episode. Let me lay it out for you.
Like, okay, is this going to be like a bit though, or do you actually have a mystery in this episode?
I never have bits. First off, second off, okay, Locke instigates to Saeed that Sawyer is the culprit.
Okay. I like this. Yeah, you're right. And I didn't write that.
He puts
I took a shitload of notes on this
one into Saeed, and then Saeed's like, you know what? Yeah, man, you're totally right. And then he tortures him. Like, I couldn't tell if the episode just needed to have a reason for Saeed to go in there and torture. Torture Sawyer, but it seemed really forced. That like out of nowhere, Locke is like, "Hey, buddy, like that guy's doing like he's got all these materials, he's hoarding all these supplies, and he really doesn't like you. So I'll bet you he's got the medicine."
Oh, it is 100% deflection.
Yeah, there's something going on there, and
interesting. I like it. Yeah,
I didn't notice it until later.
Okay.
In like episodes, you don't really realize it, and then you kind of think back, you're like, "Oh wow, that was really quick." He's like, "Where were you?" It's like, "I was hunting a boar. You just ate." You know who would want to hurt you? I don't know, the guy who's collecting everything, and he goes on this whole thing. He's like, "Anyone could do that. Maybe a cigarette." And it's like this whole bit where it's like Eric said, he's just laying out this like, "Don't look at me."
Yeah, it seemed really forced. And,
I like that. That's interesting. That's good. Okay, Rico, in proper fashion, how did you think that the flashbacks related to the main story in this episode?
I guess ultimately, because there was more than one twist with Sawyer's plot story, that it revealed less than I thought it was going to.
Okay, interesting.
So like,
yeah, I can see that.
You still like, you don't know quite if he is an asshole or to like what extent. You now know that like he was the victim of this trauma that then he kind of laid out into the same thing. But yeah, I felt like it revealed something and then pulled it back, and now I know less than I want to about Sawyer. So
that's interesting.
So I give that like solid marks from a writing standpoint. I'm frustrated because I wanted to learn some more about him. But I thought that it wasn't pedantic. I thought that it fit in with the story. It had multiple twists. That it was a fun flashback.
So,
I wouldn't say that it was like the Kate flashback. I think for us has like been the gold standard in terms of like, hey, this was really well written. It was paced really well. The acting was really good, and this seemed, like you pointed out at the beginning, so short that maybe didn't have an impact narrative wise.
I think this is a great example of what I think people would call a filler episode.
Yeah.
But like not in a bad way. I think a lot of times you can say that in with a negative connotation, but I think that this is pushing characters forward, but we're not really pushing the plot forward by leaps and bounds by some of the other episodes. Some of these early episodes we are sprinting towards these things that define Lost as a show. Here we kind of run into place. We get to Sayid kind of leaving, which is going to have some narrative bounce back. But I think overall, this is one of those episodes where there's just a lot of good character beats. There's just a lot of information about people, and I like that. I think that the sign of a good show is a show that can do that. Leftovers kind of did that kind of thing a lot, where you just spent these times with like Justin Theroux's dad and just bawled the whole episode.
I'm down to do that podcast too.
Dude, yes. If we make it to the end of this series, we will absolutely do that.
I'm not really sure how you spell the podcast title, but I guess we'll get to that.
What, The Leftovers? Oh, nice. I like it. Okay, Bus, any final thoughts on this episode?
So the comment on your fillers, when you said fillers, I was definitely thinking more on the lines of anime, where it's like literally a filler.
Yeah, okay. So yeah.
No, but those filler episodes don't do anything for anime. So that's
what I was saying. I'm with you there. When I think of filler in the negative connotation, I think of anime, where for some reason all of a sudden you have a story about like an ice cream truck driver in the middle of Bleach. Because fuck that.
Yeah. But I really did enjoy kind of the subtle development of the relationship between Kate and Sawyer. And then kind of almost the transference of this self-punishment that Sawyer puts on himself with Sayid.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't notice that. That's a really good point. Sayid is very hurt at the end of this. We didn't really touch on that.
He exiles himself, essentially.
Yeah, totally does. At least for one full episode. Nice. Great points. Okay, so let's do this weird meta thing right now. Bus, I'm going to have you lead us out of the episode, and then I'll play the audio with you leading us out of this episode. So, Bus, why don't you lead us out of the episode?
Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Drop the Dice. We have more of your lost facts and fiction here.
Nice. We'll see you next week.
Oh, that was a hot take.
Yeah, it was a hot take. I like that a lot. Okay. Sweet. So now we're going to move on to Sayid. Let me flip my notes over to the next one. What, do you know? I'm going to grab a beer real quick. Eric, do you know what the name of this episode is?
Solidarity.
Thank you. Right back.
Episode 9.
Wait, is it Solidarity or Solitary?
Solitary.
I'll do it quick.
Apparently, I can't read my own writing. Half of my notes that I write down are things that like I can't actually talk about in the podcast. I wrote down that Jack shreds open Sawyer's bandage when he's apparently just trying to look at it.
Okay. Why can't you talk about that?
That's my entire note. He just rips it open, and I was like, "Well, fuck, that would hurt really bad." And no doctor would ever take a bandage off that way.
Why don't you bring that up? Some of them, I don't. I mean, I took a bunch of notes. Oh, I wrote, change your own bandages.
Yes. But I don't even remember what part that was.
Jack was changing his bandages, and Sawyer is just there again, just needling him over and over again. Of like, why do you even care? Just let me down.
And he tears him off.
Yeah. I had. Oh wait, no. Change your own bandages actually is in this episode, so I'll bring that up. Hold on. I wrote for Sawyer. I wrote flashback to sexy times. I said. Kate says Sawyer and her have connection. She confronts him, telling him it's an act. I was like, what the fuck am I going to talk about that for? I wrote Jack and Sawyer fight. Sometimes I'm taking notes and I'm like, okay, this is nothing after all.
Yeah. Hold on.
You said solidarity?
Solitary.
Solitary.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't hear.
No. Eric, do you have a shot?
I can go get one.
Go get one. Let's do this one. So I was building a Hyper Neo deck with Prince Who Has Promised and using Mel as the prince.
Okay.
And then just literally every character's lore.
So I was thinking, Bence, I don't know how often you explain the overall plot of the episode or the overall plot of the flashbacks.
Okay.
Do we do that? And like, do you think that's something that we should do? Like, is it jarring to people who may not have
I don't know. Lately, I
don't
know. Lately, I've been kind of hitting story beats as we go, and I've been getting getting into more minutia with each episode. Bless, what do you think? I mean, you've been a listener for the other ones.
I've been liking just how you guys have been pacing it, and how you've been describing the episodes. I mean, because there are times where you jump through the episode, like you're talking about something in the beginning and then reference something at the end of the episode. It's not like there's any spoilers that are happening here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been liking listening to it. I mean, even not having watched it, like the first 2 episodes that you guys had.
Yeah.
I still thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like
Hold on. I need to get my
the idea watched it. Or if not, then like I don't know. It's the kind of podcast where I assume if you're listening to it, you've watched Lost before.
Right.
Kind of like our main podcast, right? Kind of like Drop the Dice. Like, I actually don't know anyone who listens to our podcast, but I can't imagine anyone listens to our podcast who doesn't play board games.
I guess I was thinking specifically to that last flashback. It was a cool flashback. It had a bunch of twists in it, but I don't know if we ever like explained the con that was going on, what the twist.
You're right. We didn't.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting. I actually didn't even have that in my notes, like to talk about the con. I just had notes about the flashback, if that makes sense.
Which I think is what we're doing because we're watching this show and taking notes in real time.
Right.
And so like you're never taking a note to say like, now let me pause and describe to you what this flashback was.
I don't know.
We don't tend to do that, or we don't tend to like, read the synopsis on Wikipedia. But
I think you talked about Kate's being the gold standard, and I think the nature of that flashback, the way we described it, told you what happened.
Right.
I agree with you. That's actually I hadn't really thought about that. That is a really good point because watching that first episode, I was like, wow, like this everything that episode just is so well done.
maybe that's just a kind of a gut check that we have to do before we start the episode, which is like, should we explain the plot or the plot of the flashback, or will it be self-evident?
Because I can explain, and then we can get into like the stuff that we usually do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Do we want to do that? If you guys want to do that way, that makes a lot of sense. I guess with his last flashback, there were so many different things that we wanted to talk about because it did have such like short flashbacks that kind of interspersed between the flashbacks and the island. So you're talking about flashback island, like didn't have the natural flow that ones might. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the other ones kind of have
when it comes to Saeed's flashback, I feel like so long as we hit the big point at the end, we don't really need to do a recap or a synopsis of it. Like, we can sort of let it free flow. At least that's what I think.
What do you think the big point at the end is, real quick?
Just where he lets her go
and shoots himself.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
Rico, I don't suppose you have anything for a cold open.
How cold we talking?
Yeah, no. I usually have a couple things planned since we're doing multiple of these in a row. But I will say, how excited are you for Gen Con? Bust and I were talking about it before you got on the call, and holy shit, it's like almost a month away.
Actually, I have a different cold open I'd like to go down. How is it that it's been like over a week and you still haven't played Beat Saber? I'm personally offended by this.
Dude, I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, but Zach, Z-Man was over. You've got a 10-year-old.
Almost true, but he's been in San Diego. But
I didn't know that.
Okay. I'll download Beat Saber. Why don't you tell the people what Beat Saber is?
Okay, Beat Saber is Guitar Hero in virtual reality, but instead of guitar, you have 2 lightsabers. How's that?
I mean, it's a good pitch.
Yeah.
Have you done Borderlands yet?
No, I haven't. I have not done Borderlands. Beat Saber all the time.
Yeah, I love that Beat Saber almost sounds masturbatory.
You should watch me play. I've pretty much aced every song on hard at this point, and I'm sort of straddling, emphasis on straddling, between hard and expert at this point.
Oh, okay. I was just
saying you're a master Beat Saber?
I am a master Beat Saber.
So you beat your saber better than anyone you know.
Better than, it would take a few people to join in.
Like, at this point, how many times a day are you beating your saber?
It's honestly as vigorously as I can.
Okay, so, and this brings us to another point. This is why we'll never be ologies or like any of the more respectful podcasts. But we know our place.
I highly disagree.
Nice. This is also why Alfie doesn't want to come on the podcast anymore.
Well, that's true. That's fair.
He listened to that one of the podcasts where I talked about how we spent all of our time talking about you jerking off into a sock and how big Zach's dick is, and Alfie was like, "See, this is what I'm talking about, man."
For the record, I also find it offensive, and I would rather just talk about rhythm games.
All right, so I really think rhythm games kind of peaked with Guitar Hero Aerosmith.
That's right.
I mean, just Aerosmith. I mean, just hitting that blue, yellow, green to crying. That's a song by Aerosmith, right? It was just a highlight of my youth, or I must have been actually 25. Actually, I think. All right, so we're back. We're going to talk about some loss today, which means this is an episode of the Dice Station. My name is Benz, previously from www.dropthedice.com. With me today is my trusty cohort, my East Coast correspondent, and the only guy who I'd ever want to be on a desert island with, Mr. Rico Wasman. What's going on, man?
Hey, beating the saber.
Nice. You probably heard another a beautiful, beautiful baritone kind of there. We are lucky enough to once again be joined by the man, the largest guy that I've ever met, the Bus. What's going on, dude? You still hear me? Hello. Did you lose me or Bus?
No,
Hey,
I can hear you.
Okay. Bus, you there?
Yep.
Okay. Fuck. Okay. Damn it. I'm going to start over. All right. What's up, everybody? This is Benz from www.dropthedice.com, and this is another episode of the Dice Station, which means I have my trusty cohort, my East Coast correspondent, and the only guy I'd ever want to be on a desert island with, Mr. Rico Wasman. What's going on, man?
Hey, just beating the saber.
I appreciate your kids with how much you beat that saber. You guys might have heard another beautiful baritone voice on the podcast. We are lucky enough to once again be joined by the man, the myth, the largest guy I know, and the voice of the podcast. We have the Bus with us. What's going on, dude?
Hey, glad to be back.
Peeling back the curtain a bit, we're on our second podcast now. So as much as it pains me, Rico Wasman, me and you know what we got to do because it's the start of a podcast. What do you got with you today?
Is
that more Jameson?
It is more Jameson.
And I have with me more Hayes Parker Reserve cherry flavored whiskey, or as I like to call it, Dimetap.
There's nothing reserve about Hayes Parker. What they mean to say is they waited 14 days to sell it versus 13 days to sell it.
I don't mean for this to be a bad joke, but it's going to come off as a really bad joke. Dude, it was on the top shelf.
Cheers.
Nice. It's been aged.
A full week and a half.
Hell.
Boy, how those oak notes sing.
Yeah, they do. You can really tell that was American wood because of all the vanilla.
And the hate.
And the hate. Wow. All right. Rico, we got to do something that we don't do a whole lot. Have you played a board game recently, man?
I played Gentis solo the other day.
Okay, good. That's what I was hoping you would say. How was that?
It was good. The game is okay. The solo game was actually really good. I had a good time.
All right. Hentis by TMG. What give us the 2-minute pitch for the game?
It's a civilization game. It seems mediocre in so many different facets, but it has an interesting mechanic with how many actions you can do per round. So you're sort of like limiting yourself in the current round or in future rounds by how you take time, and every action requires a certain amount of time. 1 hourglass token, 2 hourglass tokens, 3 hourglass tokens, and how you play them on your board will dictate how many actions you can do in future rounds. So you're just sort of trying to figure out like how much stuff do I want to do now? How much stuff do I want to do in the next round? There's a lot of things on the board that go away. All the cards go away at a shockingly fast rate, which I struggle to keep up with, and ultimately did enjoy because it forced me to quickly say, I need to take these cards and I'm going to build them way later down the road. Because if you don't make that immediate decision, it goes away. So it moves quickly, which I enjoy. I didn't really get the civilization building aspect that I do from the longer games like Through the Ages. But ultimately, like I said, from a solo game, it was fantastic. I'm excited to try it at higher player counts. I think it's going to be a solid 7 for us.
Nice. So nice. So going keeping with this for just a little bit more, TMG has released a couple of really good deluxified editions lately. How does this rack up against Yokohama?
Deluxified?
Just like in general, how Hentis against Yokohama? Where are you at?
Well, Deluxified is far worse because it comes with a foam core insert, and I had to glue every fucking piece together. Never again. But
stickers.
It has stickers for all the wooden pieces, but it comes with like an insert, and the insert is foam core, and you have to glue it all together. It's really annoying. But I think Yokohama's a better game. Yokohama's super fun, man.
Yokohama's really, really, really good. So I'm going to go really quick. We've recently played Tag City, which for those of you longtime listeners, Rob and David, who wrote the Martian mysteries that we did quite a while ago, created this game all about like essentially futuristic taggers in this cool city, and you're rolling dice and trying to basically spray paint the whole city. Lots of fun, really easy, and broken down so well by Chazzy Nono, who said, "This is a great intro game to teach people about the importance of making decisions."
Wow.
And I was like, what? Because there's all these different avenues for points. And it's the type of game where you need to pick the right avenue that not only will get you points for this thing, but when you finish it, maybe you'll be I tried to, whereas he was doing these other things that when he would finish, he was in good space to do this other thing. I wasn't thinking ahead. I was just trying to finish, like, filling in all the blue area. Super, super cool game. And then, of course, Bus, Dalby was here, and we had a rousing game of Seasons.
He said it wasn't that rousing. He said Lewis had to leave. And
Lewis had to leave before year 3.
You guys ended up stopping.
But it's anytime that game comes out and you start rolling those dice and you start looking at those cards, there's no way that game will ever exit my top 10.
Oh, for sure. And you guys are playing full RNG, right?
Yeah. We didn't do any drafting.
One of the best ways to play.
Yeah, super, super cool. Bus, I know you don't get to as much. Have you played any board games lately? Okay. Rico, you're still there, right?
I am. I've been playing a bunch of Trap Words lately. That game is super fun.
Nice.
It's like,
is it?
Yeah, it's like Decrypto with.
Are you doing the
rules? What?
Are you doing this at the store?
No, I went to Philadelphia last weekend and played with my friend down there and like his friends and family and stuff. So we had a couple games of Trap Words.
Bus, you back?
Yep, back.
All right, so we're
just
a
solid game. It's essentially Decrypto with, like I said, a fraction of the rules.
Bus, have you played any board games lately?
Not lately, but Dolby and his lady friend are coming out to San Diego. It's going to be staying with Lady Di and myself. So hopefully we can at least squeeze something in.
Dude, if you can get in, honestly, and I'm serious, because I'm jealous of it, I would love for you guys to play Clank with the Mummy's Curse expansion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have it. I've played the Mummy's Curse expansion with my brother and my sister, I want to say. But I know Dolby will definitely love it.
How was it? I love Clink, and like for some I'm super into Egypt games lately. So,
I mean, we played on the beginner side of the board, which was fine. My sister was involved. It's a little more interesting just because the whole mummy mechanic doesn't do a huge amount.
Okay,
it just makes it a little easier, kind of, to get what you need. But I do like the idea that it's still a deck building game, the same deck building game. It's just different cards and a slightly different mechanic.
Enrico, I'm sure you know, but Clank Legacy is coming this year.
I did not know that.
Oh my god! Dude, am I the only one that pays attention? Yeah, Clank Legacy.
Yes, I'm pretty sure you are.
Okay, I'm excited to actually be at Gen Con to help you spend money.
Oh, you think drunk Mark Bus is not going to force you to buy something that you were on the edge about?
Are you gonna edge Bence?
Yeah, I'm planning to bring between 500 and 800 to spend on board games.
That's like way more than I've ever spent at Gen Con.
I'm thinking it's going to be closer to 5 because I will need money for alcohol.
Yeah, you should probably definitely bring A, because I'm just gonna bully you into buying games.
Yeah, you are. It's gonna be great. Oh man, and then we're gonna beat our Sabres so hard.
I wish.
Well, no, so now, because dude, and then I know I talked about this with Z-Man, but like now that we figured out that Game of Thrones is on Thursday instead of Saturday, we'll have plenty of time to hold your dick.
Mm.
It won't just be,
it's gonna be a long weekend.
Holding your dick on Saturday.
That makes sense,
right? And that's what you said. You were worried about only having Zach to hold your dick.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have the wherewithal, you know.
Yeah, and you have not
or the grip.
So that's what I'm saying. Bus does CrossFit. Can you imagine the dick holding that man can do?
Oh Jesus! Are we going to talk about TV?
Oh yeah, that's right. So we're talking about Lost today. We're going to talk about Solitary, Saeed's very first flashback episode. The
Jesus Christ!
Wait, was that not a good? I thought that was a good transition.
Oh yeah, it was so good.
Okay, cool. Funny enough, we were talking about beating our Sabres. The very first shot is Saeed looking at a picture of a girl.
Yeah.
And he finds a giant phallic symbol in the beach. Or a cable, depending on what you guys think. But okay, so I mentioned in the last podcast, and you guys kind of argued against it, but in the last podcast, I didn't think that one was very, very mystery heavy. Right off the bat, we get a new mystery. What the fuck is this giant cable leading into the ocean?
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like a culmination of like why Saeed was hit over the head, you know, and knocked unconscious, and the French woman's signal for the past 16 years, and like this has been coming to a head for Saeed since episode 1 almost.
Which is, I think, what this show does so well, and I think, I mean, it should be obvious to now that I'm going to be the defender of this show forever, that it sets up so many things, and then it'll pay them off eventually. This one has been in motion for about 6 episodes or so, and yeah, you know,
I guess what I'm saying is when I saw the cable, I wasn't like, oh, you know, here's a new thing that we have to, you know, wait for it to be explained. Is when I saw the cable, I thought, oh, we're gonna get some payoff for what's happened.
Okay, that
was exciting.
That just, but it's not. It's we don't know what the cable is until later, until season 3 actually. Right away, Saeed gets caught in specifically a snare trap, which I looked up on the Wikipedias.
That's interesting. Is there some?
It is a trap in which that Saeed's an animal, that he thinks he's an animal. I don't know.
Oh shit!
Or that Danielle is, I don't know, or maybe Danielle is more, what's what I'm looking, primitive than them.
This is some transference for Saeed's punishment that he took from Sawyer.
Okay,
and he deserves this.
Right. So we
I think it's more just a setup for later on in seasons when, you know, they're trying to go through the jungle. Now they're just more aware of there are more people here. There could be traps places. I think it's very simple.
I think it's probably right. I do like that Saeed wakes up in a room and there's this really weird vocal quality, and there's a voice that keeps saying, "Where's Alex?" And it's saying it in a lot of different languages. And it happens for a while. It actually happens longer than I think it needed to. It almost drags it out to the point of uncomfortableness, which I thought was really interesting. And then we get our first flashback to Saeed torturing a guy. And here we go. Saeed's flashback, I think, is the longest one coming. Saeed's flashback wasn't until 10 minutes into the episode.
That's some sweet trivia you got there.
Yeah.
Such better notes than I do.
But the point is that you're bringing a fresh set of eyes, someone who beats their saber so much more than I do,
long and hard.
So like you have that clear head, Yeah, long and hard and emphatically, almost anti-reluctantly.
We may beat these metaphors to death.
Nice. I do like Kate worrying about Sayid back on the island. She's quickly becoming, that character. She's kind of this pivot for everything, right?
Like the voice of concern, right? It seems.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really cool. Also, this is the first episode where we meet Ethan, who is Tom Cruise's cousin.
I didn't know that.
And do you guys know what happens to Ethan? Bus, you should by now.
Yeah, I definitely know by now. But even at the start of this episode, it's obvious, right, to everyone, where it's
right.
like what? Who are you?
Yeah. Who the fuck are you?
Very suspicious.
Yeah, I thought.
Hello.
No, Rico, what did you think? I thought it was clear. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, it's clearly there's something off with this guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to forget anything that I know from future seasons.
Right.
But obviously that is a face that I remembered. So.
We find out that the person who captured.
If I do try to forget those, I think that it's not completely unreasonable that in episode 9 they bring out a new character. There's how many survivors did they have? Like over 50. It's a lot. There's a lot of people.
Right, and I think they're at 48 or 49. They have that one. They have that one episode where that girl dies, and Jack's like, "Now there's only 49 of us."
Yeah, it's just enough people that they can buy pulling somebody that you haven't seen out.
Right, which we'll find out, I think, either next season or the season after with Nikki and Paulo.
Yeah. See?
We find out that the person who captured Sayid is Danielle Rousseau. She'll play a bigger part in the series as we go. It was her distress call. She also mentions the others for the very first time. And
in the same
I love this.
You see Ethan.
Right, yeah, which, okay, again, I love this. I think this is super cool because at this moment, I mean, I know what's going on, but like at this moment, her mentioning the others, you really can't tell if she's just crazy or if there's this actual threat. She also keeps talking about a disease, but doesn't really give you any sort of information about the disease. She just keeps saying that it killed everyone. I forgot that was a mystery back in the day on the island. And I think Desmond might bring it up too in season 2. But I thought that was really, really interesting, and I liked the manicness of her character in this episode a lot. No, nothing.
It was definitely a great introduction. The introduction of her character was definitely huge.
Oh, for sure.
Just any suspicion you might have had about like Locke, for me, was just like thrown out the window because now there's a new person who's talking about others. And it's like, okay, so Sayid legitimately might have been attacked by anything.
Exactly. After a couple talks with Danielle, we get another flashback. He's talking to kind of his superior. He's got to torture this new person, and we find out that it's his childhood friend, and it's girl Nadia, and she is scarred up to hell. She's got scars all over the place, and she gives that line, which is really good. These are from the last interrogations. I know this is super hardcore, and remember at the time, like this is super intense. Like shows weren't really dealing with these. I think it could be more than a couple years after 9/11. Like this kind of topic was really taboo at this time. I mean, you have a hero essentially who is playing for the enemy. So I thought that was super interesting.
I liked this flashback a lot. I thought I found it really believable, the predicament that Sayid found himself in, and he seems almost. I don't know what the word is here, but he connects with her because they have this past relationship, and she has been through way harder things than it seems to me than Saeed has, but she like kind of casts them all off, and like they have this airy interaction, and you think that like they're going to be able to brush off the hardships of war for a moment, and I don't know, it for me for a moment feels whimsical. It feels like, oh, they're gonna run away from all of this, and like all of this is just a dream. It's like not real, right? And I think I've seen that happen in different forms of media, and then it turns out no, Saeed is stuck here, and she has been through torture before, and like then all of a sudden like it just crashes down on you, the realities of war and the realities of like where he is and what she's already been through, and then they continue to go through what they know they have to go through. It's kind of hard to watch because they have a past that connects them, and a past that was so different than where they are today, that you want them to be able to run away and escape to that place, and they try to for a moment, but then like I said, it kind of comes crashing down on them.
So I want to talk about
beautiful, poetic, and hard to watch.
So I want to touch upon the whimsy word that you mentioned. There's Nadia does this bit throughout the episode. She does it, I think, 1 or 2 times, where he brings her something, and then the last time he goes to see her, she says, "Oh, Saeed, what have you brought me today?" And it's that, right? Yeah. That's almost like out of like a screwball comedy where like there's this bit that these two do with each other daily, and it's he brings her these cute things, and I love that. You're right. I totally agree with you on that. I think that's super interesting, and you do for a second forget that he's her torturer.
I think, ultimately, and one more than the other, Saeed wants to forget that he is the torturer, and that
there's
heartbreaking.
One of the other things that I thought was interesting is that so these two love each other, is right? Kind of
childhood love,
right? And I think that's kind of my point. Is what we have here is it's not essentially Saeed losing the woman he loves or asked to kill the woman he loves. It's this girl that he loves, almost maybe platonically. Like we don't really know.
I actually think I'd like to double down on kind of my explanation for it and to say like maybe they just love life before this.
Okay.
And, they both had that connection to a life before this war and the horrors that it brought, and like that's the bond that's there.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know if they love each other. They just sure as shit love what happened before that.
Yeah, and kind
of okay. That's it.
With just Saeed, like the way you see him in this flashback, he's this soldier, he's this communications officer, and that's kind of what you see. And then you see when he meets his childhood friend, it's kind of a breakdown and almost like a redevelopment of who he is, and you kind of see this different layer, not just from the flashback, but also adding on to how he is on the island as well.
I like that. I this is all great. This is good stuff for his flashback. Okay, so a couple of things about Saeed. There's a very interesting shot. Okay, so there's one point where Saeed is looking at Nadia's face, and the show cuts, and it goes to Shannon's legs, and it moves up her whole body very suggestively to her face. And I thought that was super smart and more evidence that this show knew what the fuck they were doing from day one. I love that. And I definitely didn't catch that the first time I saw it. Watching it then, I was like, oh my God, like that is a very distinct, slow-moving pan up Shannon's body after Saeed's been staring at Nadia's face. Boom. Super cool. Make that connection cinematically. I love that. I think that's amazing. That's why this show is the second best show of all time.
So are you suggesting that ties into like the torture that Saeed did in the last episode to ensure that Shannon got her medication?
No, I'm implying that he loves Nadia and he's going to love Shannon.
Right, but I'm saying like maybe it goes back an episode and he just tortured somebody off of the flimsiest of pretenses where Locke was like, oh well, that guy looked at you weird, and Saeed was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna torture him now. But what I'm saying is like maybe he already had an affinity towards her.
I'm thinking he finger flicked Nadia and he's gonna take that a step further and put it in the butt for Shannon.
Well, I'm saying that too. I'm
On
saying
an
he
island?
already wanted
Okay,
her.
good. As long as we're on the same page. They go to the beach together, alone. Sweet. As long as we're on the same page with the anal stuff for Shannon, we're good. Okay. We know our audience. Okay. So you wanted to mention this final scene with Nadia. There's some other subplots that I want to get into a little bit later, including a short polar bear recall. But he frees Nadia, right? He's tasked with shooting her. He's stalled long enough, and now his superior says you've got to kill her, and he can't. He tries to help her escape, and he frees her by shooting his superior officer and then shooting himself. I think this is so telling for Saeed as a character on the island. The guy is willing to sacrifice himself constantly for other people. He's willing to bend his beliefs, right? Like we've seen that. If it means helping other people, and it's this weird, like, I don't know. It's noble, but at the same time, some of the acts that he's doing aren't, and I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, he definitely goes by his own moral compass.
Yeah. Like it's like he's decided that this is for the greater good himself, and he's going to punish himself for it later as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's super interesting.
Honestly, not that this is territory that we're expected to cover, but that's a philosophy that I really identify with. And I think that some people might look at it as hypocritical, but I think that goalposts are ever changing, and the scenario that he's in, he's trying to do his best, and he's trying to apply his moral convictions at the time, but he's also learning, and he's flawed, and he's lustful, and I really like him as a character because of that.
Saeed, watching it the first time around, I've seen the show a couple times now. He's always been one of my favorite characters. I love a reluctant hero. I love a hero that is hard on themselves, and I love a hero that can kind of define. Like, he's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He might be defining rules for himself here and there, but he's much more of a good guy than Sawyer. As much as Sawyer is good television, Saeed is a good character, like a sound character.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. It's interesting to come to that conclusion and to watch Sawyer do something reprehensible. He also has the viewpoint that he deserves it. And then to have Saeed in that same episode torture Sawyer and then believe that he deserves his own punishment. Like, they're doing the same things. I wouldn't say that.
Right. But that duality is why this podcast exists. That duality is why we're talking about it, right? That's why we enjoy watching it.
But I'm saying is I'm not seeing a stark difference between the two characters about how one is, better morally than the other, or more of a hero than the other. Like I don't want to describe their actions into good or bad, evil or wrong, evil or right. But I would say that like one is certainly cast as more of a hero than the other, and I'm just surprised at that, because when you lay out the actions that they're doing, like I don't know if I see a huge difference.
And that's, I think that's it though. Like that's the conversation. That's what you talk about. That's why we're here. That's why the show works, because you have these characters. They all have their flaws. They all have their good attributes. And when you start peeling back the layers, you realize like we're not that different. We're not like Sawyer and Saeed, their first scene together, they were fighting.
So
we talked about this in the first episode. And now we're here, right? And they still have that dichotomy where they're at odds with each other, spiritually almost, or metaphorically, or whatever. Like not like within the realm of the show, they're doing the same thing, and they're both fighting against that. But yet we see Sawyer as more morally reprehensible than we do Saeed.
So to peel back those layers, is that just because Sawyer seems invested in himself, whereas Saeed is doing it more for the good of the island and the inhabitants therein?
I mean,
right? Like Sawyer has his own. He's got his own little
agenda.
Not just agenda, but he's got his own convenience store that's just for him and his benefit.
Right.
And Saeed is like trying to fix receivers and triangular frequencies of radio signals and stuff to get them off the island. It's like different motives there.
So one, Bus, what do you think?
So because it seems like you're talking about two different things. One, you're talking about the end of how you see them as like a hero, and they both end up being a very similar way where they will ultimately do good. Okay. But then the means in which they do it, with Saeed being helpful, he's befriending people, he's putting together this transceiver, and as you said, Sawyer has his own convenience store. So the means in which to get to that end are very different. There's the expectant hero, which is Saeed, and there's the unexpected hero, which is Sawyer. Ultimately, we see them both sacrificing a lot in order to help the good of the group.
Okay. Two, Bus, the science of using those flares and radio transceivers to triangulate a position, does that track?
Sorry, I lost you.
Okay, so Bus, two, the science of using the transceivers to triangulate the radio position, does that work?
I don't know that much about radio stuff. If it was medical, I could help you out, but
get a fucking physics degree.
Yeah. All right. So so Bus says that it does work, so that's cool. I'm glad that
I know what batteries. Batteries is true.
So towards the end of the episode, when Saeed escapes, he confronts Danielle and he tells her to come with him. She doesn't. Tells him to watch the other survivors, and she mentions that Alex was her kid. Okay, she brings up a lot of mysteries. She brings up many things. Okay, and I have it written down here. She talks about the Black Rock, which we haven't found out yet. She talks about the others, which we mentioned earlier, and she talks about carriers, which we mentioned earlier.
And she talks about her research team as well that was there.
Right, which we'll find out a little bit later. But I mean, between the Black Rock, the first mention of the others, the first mention of the disease, which the disease kind of falls apart towards the end of the series in terms of like that doesn't end up being it's like a false start. But the Black Rock and the others absolutely will be there for a long, long time. And I love that this is the very first instance, and we have like no idea about it. But here we go, planting seeds for something that's going to happen later. Really, really like that. Saeed's last scene before we get to kind of some of the subplots. Oh, he fixes a music box for her, and once he does that, he hears the roar of the monster, kind of showed just how handy he is. And then immediately, as the music's playing, we hear the smoke monster. That's kind of just like a little bit, though. Saeed is running from something back to the beach, and we're to assume that it's a smoke monster. At least I'm assuming so. I like that. So some of the subplots that we get here.
I thought the most interesting part there is that Rousseau is hearing voices and kind of alludes to that throughout that episode, and then at the end, Saeed hears the same voices.
Right, and we don't know this yet, but the black smoke monster is supposed to kind of, as you look into it, or as you see it, is supposed to either take on the form or kind of like be this visage of your greatest fears.
No. We do figure that out during the Boar episode. I think
Okay.
Locke says that.
Does it? It gets spelled out even more later.
Okay.
So one of the things that I want to talk about is the Hurley subplot. This is the first time in a series where Hurley is dedicated to finding a distraction for the Islanders in the hopes of raising morale. And I'm going to be honest, some of my favorite episodes are Hurley doing this. There's this one with the golf course, which is super charming. There's the one with the van, which I love. I think it's just so heartwarming. You have one where Hurley spends the whole episode, and we'll do this. This is such a good back over as like captain of the island, and Hurley spends the whole time basically telling Sawyer that he can do it and telling him that he's going to do a great job. It's so well done. I like Hurley as this guy, and I think this you start to see that Hurley seeing the bigger picture here. Jack's just worried about survival, but Hurley knows if we're going to live here, we need to live, and I like that. I think that makes so much sense with Hurley.
Yeah. This was the moment that I liked Hurley most in these 10 episodes. And I'm not going to lie to you, he's pretty low out of the 49 characters that, that we've met.
So the show does a couple of really great commercial breaks. My favorite commercial break in the history of television is in the series finale, which we'll get to probably in 2 years.
Yeah, right.
And it's the sickest commercial break in the history of television, and just thinking about it is so fucking cool because Jack is doing this. It's fine. Okay, right here in this scene though, there's this great cut in from commercial, and it's Jack and Michael like right here, right, and they're chatting, and Jack's like, I don't know what to do, and Michael's like, you put yourself in this situation. And Jack's like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna do this, and I know what was happening, but I remember the first time thinking it's some big problem, and it ends up being Jack trying to decide which golf club to use.
Yeah,
and it is one of those moments on the island where, again, like, dude, like these moments of levity really help the show kind of decompress.
Is there anything you want to comment about another subplot that we may have missed about Michael and his son? Because Walt is feeling neglected, and
in this one, yeah.
You have this overarching subplot about Hurley bringing the island together with golf, which is great. But I felt
you
bad.
do this weird moment where
about how Michael kind
goes to play golf. Goes to find Michael. Michael offers to let him swing, kind of half-heartedly, and then Walt.
I think I was talking over you. You can start over again.
I think that's pretty interesting because you have this moment where Walt goes to find Michael. They're playing golf. Michael offers to let him play, but then Walt kind of declines, and I actually thought that was a little weird. But then Walt goes and finds Locke, and Locke shows him how to throw a knife.
I know that we just watched it, but like I felt like Michael told his son that he couldn't hang out with him because he was too busy, and then he went and played golf, and then Walt went and saw him playing golf and was like, fuck this noise, I'm gonna go hang out with Locke.
That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems kind of messed up, man.
No,
it's that weird mindset that Michael has where you think he's trying to be a good father this whole time, but you don't know until a little later in the season just how little he has been a father to Walt. And then he just doesn't know how to do it. Yeah, and so you think, oh, wow, this guy who is pretending to be this great father and he's concerned about his son, all of a sudden just goes and plays golf and whatever. It just kind of develops, it puts you in a weird mindset until the later episodes when you find out just how hard it was for him as Walt was growing up.
Yeah. That's a good reminder, and the reminder does happen in the show periodically that he was brand new to being a dad, went down there to get Walt. I forget that from time to time, and it still like stands out to me, and it's really.
I think the way they do the relationship between Walt and Michael is probably the most like jumpy for me. Just in one sense, I want them to be together forever, and what they're doing is great. And then other times, it's like, wow, Michael's an idiot. Why are you doing this way? Like, learn how to treat your kid right, or whatever it might change. But I do find it one of the more interesting relationships.
Yeah,
I think it does start to suffer from. There's so many things going on, and clearly they found out right away that Jack, Sawyer, and Kate were like the big three. With kind of Locke right there, right?
Yeah.
So there's so much focus on those guys, and you have all these interesting stories that again, everyone's so dynamic and so multi-level that it's when you try to pepper in these character beats, some of them can kind of feel kind of weird. For instance, all of a sudden Michael's a great architect and builds these aqueducts. And you find out, and I forgot because I think he mentions it in the first episode, but he was an artist in a past life before he worked in construction.
Wow, I did not remember that.
Or okay, so I might be wrong then. Maybe we don't find that out till his flashback then. Yeah. This is one of those where I start to get confused.
I don't think we have found that out.
Okay, so he definitely used to be an artist, but like again, like all of a sudden he's showing Jack these plans and
yeah, it's not
right, and it gets a little confusing. I'm fine with it, but it's the trouble you get with this talented of a cast and this broad of a story.
You might as well which is 100 episodes for me. I don't give a shit anymore.
Well, I mean, it starts, which is insane because we're just going to start adding more people to the cast.
Oh no!
I mean, shut up. You've seen enough of the show. As much as people are going to die, the net gain is probably like 3, 4, 5 characters a season, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this one does not end with the musical montage. This ends with Saeed running, like I said. Do you guys have any last thoughts about this? Rico, what did you think about the flashback in this episode? I know we talked about it a lot, so I'm assuming I know where you're at. But let's cement that. That's fine. I have Audacity. I can cut this out.
I know. That's why I'm thinking. I overall liked it. I didn't think it was pedantic. I think it progresses the story. I don't know if it. So in the episode before that, when he tortures Sawyer, and he says like, "I was in the Republican National Guard." Or the Republic National Guard, excuse me. Although, what's
whatever.
And he then tortures Sawyer, and then you see him in the Republic Guard in the next episode, kind of doing that. They kind of don't feel like the same person to me. So I feel a little bit of incongruity between them. So I think ultimately, like, I don't know if it explains everything satisfactorily to me about who Sawyer is. But I do understand, and I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, that morally, I think that Sawyer is really good at assessing a situation and making a judgment there. And
Saeed,
Saeed, and he's not quite anti-hero, but he straddles his own line as it comes to his moral compass.
Okay.
I don't know.
Plus,
I don't know if it's a review of the episode, or of the flashback, but I guess I'm kind of mediocre, lukewarm on it.
So we're still not at Kate.
We're still not at Kate. That's right.
I'm not sure if we ever will be. There's 2 episodes in season 3 that and I'm curious to see where those land this time around.
Okay.
Bust, any final thoughts on this episode?
I just enjoy all of the kind of open ends that this episode leads with, or ends with, I should say. Just with all of the things that Rousseau kind of lays out there. The fact that Saeed let someone go, you don't know the end of that. It means his flashback's not quite over. His character is going to continue to develop. The thing with Walt and Michael and Locke that kind of develops that little triangle of relationships. It's definitely more like it sets up. This is still a first season. Nothing's going to be ending anytime soon. So keep watching.
Right. So I want to talk about. So I'll talk about that real quick before we end. I love that this first season these are literally crumbs that we're getting. Even Kate's flashback that we love, it's what it's maybe 48 hours.
Yeah.
You know, or at least like it's such a small bit of her backstory. Like we don't know anything. I don't even know what she did at the point. You know, we just know she's on the run. This show is doing so good at taking its time in dripping us these moments of character in this history. Okay, you said something else there that I want to touch upon. You talked about the open ends of Saeed. You talked about how we don't really know where things are going. One more thing.
Michael Locke.
Take your time.
Michael Locke. No. Yeah, I had another point. Here, Bus, really quick. What did kind of repeat what you said a little bit? I can edit this.
That Rousseau kind of led with or ended with the fact that Saeed let his childhood friend go. That leads to opens the door to more flashbacks with Saeed and kind of his character development.
Okay.
That was pretty much it. And then the Michael Walt Locke little thing that's going on there.
Oh, damn! I wonder what that's gonna bug me all night, isn't it? And well, my other point was gonna be there. Yeah, I know. Okay, well, this will just be a fun editing one for me. Okay, so that is Saeed's very first episode. Rico, do you know what we have next?
Yeah, I do. Episode 10.
Nice. I like it.
I'm not cheating.
I know. Hopefully, it'll be much more saber beating as we go. Bus, it has been a pleasure. And what? No, you're shaking your head.
I was thinking not simultaneously. I got to be lost.
Nice.
Yeah.
God, it was such a good point too. See, that's why you don't.
It's lost in the smoke monster, dude.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I like that.
Thank you.
All right, Rico. I'm sure it's super late for you. Thank you so much for joining us on this night of NBA Finals. I know you're super excited to watch the game.
I was. It was really good.
Yeah. Bus, dude, thank you so much for joining us. You are always welcome back, whenever we can. I assume we'll record again within 2 weeks. And if not, holy shit, I'm going to see you guys in less than 2 months. This is going to be great. I cannot wait for all of us to beat our sabers together in the same bathroom.
Why limit to the bathroom? Why limit it there?
Right. PlayStation 4 not included, folks.
Yeah. Hey, Rico, so you were responsible for getting the hotel room.
Yeah.
Do we have 2 beds?
Yeah, we have 2 queens.
Okay. And there's 5 of us?
Yes.
Okay.
Sweet. I will gladly take the floor. That's fine.
You're gonna fall off on the floor anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Anyways, also, I'm going to assume that Alfie will be first in bed every night.
That's a safe bet.
If history precedes itself, Bus and Zach will do absurd things into the early reaches of the night.
All we literally did was drink a lot, talk a lot, and pee off the balcony. That's all we did.
I'm a little insulted I'm not included in that, but okay.
I mean, you can always pee off the balcony.
I stand by my statement. I go with Bus and Zach. You can pee on the balcony if you want, Rico.
I mean, I'm no good in the mornings, but I'm good all night.
Yeah, fair enough. That's true. Wait, real quick. So, Rico, while we're still here, so I was talking to Bus before you got on.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, me and Bus and Alfie have a very specific competition Thursday morning, which you won't even be there for.
Oh, definitely not. God, no.
Right. So I was thinking by Saturday, we'll have been there for a couple days already.
Yeah.
Is it plausible, or do you think we'll still do it? Do you think Saturday we'll all sleep in? Like 2 nights of, I'm assuming, heavy drinking.
Yeah, I think it's on Sunday we definitely will because nothing really happens on Sunday. But by Saturday, all of the must-haves, in terms of like hotness and hype, they'll all be sold out.
Right.
So might as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Sweet.
So I was assuming we would sleep in, go grab some food, some delicious food, go walk the halls. Depending on how far we got in the competition, just circle jerk all fucking day. Dude, legit. If any of us make it till Friday, oh my god.
Wait, make it till Friday. Wait, there's got to be more to that statement.
But there's not. Everyone
without.
Okay, the listeners who know about Game of Thrones know what I mean when I say make it till Friday.
Yes.
Making the cut, being a champ, things like that.
Oh, now I understand.
Fuck you.
No,
All right. Bus, my goal is for one of us to make it till Friday. I would love that. And I think it's possible with how few people are going this year.
Yeah, definitely could be. And just kind of have where the meta's at. It's low predictable.
I would rather not know that information, and you making it till Friday is going to be amazing because you guys are the best players at Gen Con. And in the world.
So I'm with I'm with Bus, and Rico, you can chime in if you want. Bus has constantly said if we really wanted to, we could guarantee we'll make it till Friday.
How so?
Because he believes that we're that good, and if we actually put in the time needed, built the decks, get the reps in, we could do it. Alfie's insistent that we are just not that good.
Got it. Well, honestly, like no amount of prize money would be worth it, but proving Alfie wrong. Just saying.
Is that not the ultimate goal? It's
just saying, maybe you should do it.
Right?
Well,
With the bear.
Because that is the thing. Regionals here in the so-called meta is tough in it itself, and you made top 12.
Yeah.
And then just with Thrones War, that's tons of great players, and the more you win, the higher level player you're going to be playing, and we both ended up doing pretty well. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely above average. Alfie definitely thinks that we're just like these below average peasants for some reason, and I don't really quite understand that.
Peasants, I agree with, but way above average. Just the best.
He's always like, oh, the moment I play like Neil Kimball or Tomas online, I just know I'm going to lose.
Well, it's because it's terrible attitude.
Like what? Like of course, because you fucking lost before you got into the game.
Get your head in the game.
You know what I mean? Like, have you never played sports before?
Dude. Preparation.
Look
man.
at the Warriors. They're
It's
doing it, man.
Of the law. Yeah.
All right, boys. Bus, let's do that meta thing again where you're going to lead us out of the podcast, and then I'll play that audio of you leading us out of the podcast. Go for it, Bus. Hold on. Hold on.
Drop the dice. Station. With all your lost mysteries and answers.
Hold on.
That was
Mark,
incredible. Keep it as is.
Messed up.
Fuck you, Rico.
All
Mark,
right.
you still there?
Oh, Jesus.
Lost it.
Yeah, we're losing you. Are you there? Okay, that's his internet this time because mine's fine. Why do you keep muting yourself, Rico?
Nada.
No. All right.
Just recut his last outro and use it on this one.
That's what we're probably gonna do anyway.
Nobody's gonna notice. And you should also cut the last like 15 minutes of Game of Thrones because nobody gives a shit about Game of Thrones.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's probably gonna happen. Dude.
It probably should happen.
We keep hitting last week we hit 445.
1 sec, I'm turning you up. I'm done with headphones. Wait. Can I hear you?
Can you?
Yeah, I can. Say that again.
Dude, last week we hit 445.
445. Is that our all-time high?
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing, dude. It's like when you don't try, you do better.
Are you fucking kidding? Editing takes so long.
Oh, yeah. Go fuck yourself. Oh, that's the happiest I've been in weeks.
Did you, when you edited though, was I still the one that put it up on the website?
I don't remember how we did it, dude.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how we did it too.
Yeah,
I must have.
Must have sent you the files or something because I edited that.
Ah, there it is.
I don't know.
All right.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, so real quick, Bus, we're congratulating ourselves because we've continuously hit over 400 the past 2 weeks.
Oh, very nice. Congratulate yourself for sure.
Yeah, we peaked at 445. So, before we leave, I need you to do it one more time. Say goodbye.
You've been listening to Drop the Dice Station with all your lost mysteries and answers.
God, that voice.
I love it. I love it. This is going to be great. Dude, guys, I am so excited. I'm assuming that's the first time I'm going to see you both before August, right?
Yeah, I was actually going to come home next week, but I just talked to my dad, and he surprise bought himself a ticket to Singapore, so he leaves to Wednesday. He leaves Wednesday.
Wait, I thought your whole family was going to Singapore.
Well, they're already there.
Okay.
My dad, Alex, and Sarah that are still home, and
okay.
My dad is leaving, so I will not be going.
So if you wanted to,
I think what you're saying is likely. Yeah, August.
I mean, me and Zach would be here.
Well,
you know.
All right, so
that's fine. Okay, cool. So, and then Gus, I'm assuming the first time we'll see you, you're seeing Dolby next week. I don't think you're coming out here anytime other than that.
Yeah, I'm not planning on it.
Sweet, dude. This is gonna be the most epic weekend, and I just found out I have a like a work trip the week before.
Where to?
Just to Los Angeles for some training.
Oh, just to LA.
So, yeah. So literally, that whole week I'll be training in LA, which is it's.
Oh no, he can't be cutting out right now.
I'm so excited because dude, it's gonna be such a cakewalk that week up until Gen Con.
Nice. You better have some decks ready then. Mini decks.
Yeah.
Bring all your cards. Let's switch everything up.
Oh yeah, what do you think? I'm thinking and Bus, you and Alfie will get on and we'll do a deck building session.
Guys. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right.
I should
Bye, Rico. Okay, real quick. Me, you, and Alfie, we should do a deck building session where we start to figure out what we're gonna build.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't even need to build the deck as much as we should talk about what we would like to play.
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about what we think is going to be strong and what we would like to play.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I'll talk to him. He's usually good, like Thursdays and Wednesdays.
Okay, I can most likely do Wednesdays.
Okay, we might be able to get something in like before game night or during game night. Zach can just fucking play with Riley.
Oh right, I always forget Wednesdays your guys' game night. Yeah.
All right, man. Dude, thank you so much. This was freaking sick.
Yeah,
Miss you, bud.
Peace.
Later, dude.